The hosts of Morning Joe have been some of Biden's biggest cheerleaders. Here's them reacting to the news that he is dropping out of the race. Let's watch.
Well, obviously, on many levels, I'm really sad. Joe Biden is a patriot. I love him. I love his family, and I love what he's done for the country. He had authenticity and touch, whether you saw it or not. But everything about him, even sometimes the stutter and the bumbling, was part of the touch, part of the sort of empathic, very loving, very clear-eyed touch that he had that allowed him and enabled him to be an effective president. But all of that turned against him after the debate for all the reasons that we discussed. And he would say, no time to complain about it. Let's move on. It's go time. And Democrats really have a moment of momentum here. And my hope is that they grab it and run with it, get unified, get organized, get coordinated. No more infighting. Donald Trump is not easy to beat.
Mika also warned that the GOP's, quote, hate campaign against Kamala Harris has already begun. Let's watch.
And I've heard from inside Republican circles and right-wing media that the hate campaign against Kamala Harris has begun. You'll notice they purposefully pronounce her name wrong. They say Kamala. They do it all the time. It is on purpose. But the talk is to start that hate campaign and get it going and start it churning. So my hope is that major Democrats and major Republicans, from the Obamas to the Bush family to military leaders, get behind the democracy ticket and we move on.
Morning Joe could have been running an attack ad, and instead they're, I don't know, eulogizing Biden? They're talking about him like he's dead, Robbie.
Well, sometimes he seems that way when he's talking on camera. What hate campaign against Kamala Harris? They're running against her. They're going to call out her rhetoric, her political stances. This kind of tone policing here. What Democrats are running hard against Trump. They hate Donald Trump. They call him all sorts of nasty names. In fact, they've even mispronounced his name. Remember all the Donald Drumpf kind of stuff that late night comedians thought was so hilarious. So, spare me the pearl clutching over Kamala versus Kamala. No one cares. Republicans, Donald Trump, are going to hit her on her record as a part of, they would say, the failing Biden administration. They're going to highlight the ways in which they would call her even more failing-y than Joe Biden, being even more progressive on a handful of issues, and then maybe less progressive on some other issues in a way that makes her maximally unappealing. That's what they're going to talk about, how she handled the border, what she thinks about green issues, whether she's authentic and compelling as a person. Let's not call that hateful. I'm sure there's also going to be hateful attacks on her, to be clear. I'm sure some corners of the internet or the right will slam her for being a woman or will say racist or sexist things. That's absolutely going to happen. But the bulk of the Republican Party will be running against her record and her part of the administration.
Well, Donald Trump already called her crazy.
Yeah,
he called her crazy. He was giving a speech. He said, listen
to
her
laugh. Not that.
You can tell a lot
Prosecute him again.
No, but that is something hateful to say someone's crazy you're running against. Because she laughs, that's why. And this speaks to a huge cultural and societal issue. Whenever a woman expresses joy or laughter, they are attacked. I've had it. I've had posts of me joking around with my followers on TikTok, and there's always some random dude in the comments like, are you high right now? Because women are supposed to be quiet. They're not supposed to be loud. There's this belief that you have to quiet those parts of you in order to be receivable. And I think it's great that Kamala Harris is not that. She's someone who's laughing, who's boisterous, who's joyful, and them attacking her for it has pointed out a very interesting thing. Someone commented on an X post about this, and they said, well, think about it. All of the airtime Donald Trump has had, can you recall what his laugh sounds like? And I can't. And that's scarier than someone laughing frequently.
I think it's okay to make fun of Kamala Harris. The kind of laugh she does, it's kind of a little it's not. You can obviously be too mean-spirited when you make fun of national figures or political figures. the coconut tree thing was funny. Her statements about, and the thing about time and how it passes that are so vague and, again, reminiscent of Selena Meyer from Veep are funny, and she's going to be made fun of for it, and that's okay, just as Donald Trump is made fun of for his appearance and his mannerisms and his dance moves like this. They made fun of him for it at the Republican National Convention in a kind of, again, not a mean-spirited way, but an affirming way. We are allowed to mock our presidential candidates. We have the First Amendment, goddammit. And I will be making fun of Kamala Harris on this show. I will also be making fun of Donald Trump, and I'll be making fun of all sorts of funny people. So I think that's just fine.
They also said that she slept her way to the top. She's dated celebrity figures like Montel Williams.
Well, that I think is stemmed to this reporting on that. What was it? Again, I don't know the specific details. It was someone in her upcoming coming through the California judicial process to become Attorney General. There have been accusations that she slept with. I have to Google it to know the exact details, but that's what they're referring to there. And I don't know whether that was verified, but I've read that story, I've seen that report, so that is what they're going to be talking about.
I'm familiar with the story. I mean, it was a popular story in 2020 when, there was a huge primary that...
Didn't he come out and say she slept with him? Was what prompted that? Again, I need to do some research before we go.
Anyway, they're running with that narrative. Again, Donald Trump is someone who's
I'm just saying, I don't know if it's a narrative.
Who's on the record in a court of law for committing sexual assault. Mm-hmm. It's something he's admitted to and has.
Well, he's not admitted to committing sexual assault. He denies committing it. He's been convicted of it.
But he's made statements. Maybe they're not considered by a court of law. I believe they were part of the official record where he takes credit for what he's done there. And so this is someone who's on the record of Epstein's visitors. We just got more documents come out from the Epstein case. And they're saying Kamala Harris, because she had relations with people in the same field of work as her, that she slept her way to the top. I mean, that's just ridiculous. So the attacks they have on her, I think, are just revealing that she is not someone that they want to attack her on her merits. Because all of them are just like sinkholes. If you say, she was too tough on crime. Well, you're the tough on crime party. How are you going to hate her for that? Well, she handled the migrant crisis. Well, now you open the door for her to talk about how the Biden administration hired more agents and was actually tougher on the border and did more deportations than the Trump campaign when it comes to Haitian Americans, which has been a major focus considering what's going on in Haiti. And so I think that there is an obvious void there, but I want to go back to Morning Joe, because they are eulogizing President Biden. And I think President Biden's legacy is that he let John Kirby seemingly run the White House, that the foreign policy was an absolute disaster, that time and again he tried to control Netanyahu, who he was giving weapons to, and made critical statements saying, you can't do this is a red line. He crosses it, Biden doesn't change the policy, continues to transfer weapons to this guy. His legacy will be sponsoring the genocide in Gaza, and I don't think this is a man people will remember as a hero, because he should have dropped out far sooner to be remembered as a hero.
I pulled this up because I kind of butchered the facts about it. So this is from the Daily Beast, which is a liberal outlet. So a charge has been endlessly recycled whenever Harris is mentioned as a future president. In 2020, the pair did date from 1944 to 1995. This is Kamala Harris and 94 to 95. This is Kamala Harris and Willie Brown is his name. And he was 30 years her senior. This is the year before he became mayor, and he was legally married at the time, although they'd been separated. So that is what is being referenced by the slept her way to the top kind of thing.
One guy. Astonishing.
Yeah, I'm not putting any stock in it, and I don't think this is the correct way to go after Kamala Harris. So I am not in charge of what people on the right or the Republican Party does, but they should go after her for her role in the Biden administration and her policies on criminal justice and energy and environment, and her flip-flopping on some of those policies is the way to pursue her, not because she's a woman or because she has a funny laugh, although we can point out the funny laugh and we can point out the funny statements, just as we point them out when Donald Trump does them and he gets mocked. So I don't like this approach from the Morning Joe type people that it's hateful if you make fun of Kamala Harris, but it's not hateful to make fun of Donald Trump, which they do all the time. Then that's a double standard. The other, where it's like you can't make fun of her, what, because she's a woman? It's not okay to make fun of her? She can be made fun of because she's a leading political contender for the presidency, and it's okay to mock our leaders, is what I would say.
I mean, I think Trump is a boisterous guy. No one says, actually people do say, but Kamala Harris doesn't say, he must be crazy because he's so boisterous. But I think calling someone crazy because they're boisterous and they laugh a lot is a hateful thing to do. So in the name of unity, he should stop doing that.
All right, more Rising right after this.